confronted the makers of the idols. This is also where John went back to finish the job and completely drive her out. It is known as the Temple of Artemis. The Temple of Artemis is in Istanbul, Turkey. And Constantine would later dedicate this temple after Rome had changed over to Christianity. He would call this temple the Temple of Mary, the Queen of Heaven. If you go back to Semiramis, who proclaimed herself as the Queen of Heaven. Really, it never changed hands, just the symbol changed. And you see that here. Most statues you find of Mary and the baby Jesus are in fact Tammuz and Semiramis with a crown. It never changed, he just changed who they were. And eventually she becomes, and I found this rendering in a 17th century Bible, which is almost identical to the symbol of Luna on a Roman coin. If I'm correct, then we have the Catholic Church and Islam coming together to form the one world government. The reason I feel this way is because of Daniel chapter 2, verses 33 and 34. It says, its legs of iron and its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. You have the clay being Islam. You have the iron being the Roman Catholic Church. And they're not going to mingle together well, which we would well know. And if you watched while a stone was cut without hands, which struck the image on its feet, and the iron and clay broke into pieces, which toppled the entire statue, which is my rock. Like I mentioned before, Isis was known as Hathor and Met. In Egypt, the cow was a sacred animal, but it doesn't begin here. It actually goes all the way back to Nimrod. This is the protectors of the gates of Babylon, which is in fact Nimrod in the image of a cow.
A bull.
A bull or cow. In many depictions, you will see kings riding on the backs of bulls. This is an unknown relief. The top of it had been broken off, but the important part was actually that the feet of the king were on top of a bull. More than likely by the dress, it's Assyrian in nature. Same thing for the Hittites. This is a new discovery, recent discovery, and it shows a Hittite god, an unknown god, unnamed god, riding on the back of a bull. But this ends up leading to something that was found in Saddam's personal archive, his personal museum. And this is actually a Babylonian sculpture of Europa riding on the back of a bull. Find the same in Crete, the same in Athens, and the same right now outside of the European Union. The Europa riding on the back of the bull is actually the mascot of the European Union. And in fact, Europa is where Europe gets its name from. And it says, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters," which is Europe. "You whom the kings of the earth have committed fornications, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with her wine of her fornication." Now remember, Semiramis, all the way through, these goddesses were worshipped as fertility goddesses, which means there were sexual rituals that went along with the worship of her. This is beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is exactly what this is talking about. The harlot surrounded by many waters, who the kings of the earth had gotten drunk on her fornication. You may ask how Europe actually plays into Revelation. This structure is the EU building in Strasbourg, France, which was erected, the architect actually built it in the image of the Tower of Babel, the incompleted Tower of Babel.
Do you have a picture of the poster they used to actually promote the building of it?
No, I don't have that.
It's a painting of the Tower of Babel.
I believe the government will be in the design of the EU, and all the countries will keep their own identity but fall into the canopy of a one world government headquartered in Babylon. And like the euro, the world economy will be stabilized under one currency. And another interesting note, the parliament, which this is the parliament building, in Strasbourg, France, has 739 seats. Seat number 666 is vacant but has been reserved for the Vatican chief. Don't know if it's a slap in the face or just a coincidence, but either way. And you might ask, where does the cow end up leading to? If you look back earlier in the scriptures, you'll see in Kings chapter 11, verse 33, the god that's enlarged there, Milcom. Milcom is Molech. And that's according to 1 Kings 11, chapter 7. Molech, come on.
Now Nimrod got the body, that guy got the head.
I'm getting there. Molech, an offering to Molech was a child.
Yes.
Think about where our healthcare plan just went to, what they just voted on and passed, and you can see Molech all over it. Nimrod was believed to have worn a crown or was cursed with horns or born with horns. It's actually unclear based upon history, but I believe he is actually marked as a servant of Satan. And you can see throughout different depictions, he's actually depicted with horns. The final piece of the triad is Nimrod himself. First, it's important to know that every king of Babylon since Nimrod has believed to be the incarnation of the sun god Shamash, who Nimrod claimed to be. Here you see Saddam Hussein in this depiction receiving the throne, the olive branch, from Nimrod himself. Now, if you want a timeline as to when this was painted, if you look right here and see the tall tower, that was built after the Desert Shield. The first time that we went in and attacked Iraq,
What year would that have been?
around 91. So even after we had assaulted Iraq, he still believed that he was the incarnate sun god. Here in 2 Corinthians it says, "And no wonder, for Satan himself transforms into an angel of light. Therefore there is no great thing of his mystery, or no great thing of his ministers, also transforming themselves into ministers of righteousness, whose end will be according to their works." And here in Ezekiel it says, "So they brought me to the inner court of the Lord's house, and there at the door of the at the door of the temple, the temple of the Lord, between the porches and the altar, were 25 men with their backs towards the temple of the Lord, and their faces towards the east, where they worshipped the sun towards the east." And in Daniel we see, "And there were children, and wherever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the birds of heaven, he has given them into your hand, and has made you ruler over them. That you are this head of gold." This was Daniel actually speaking to Nebuchadnezzar, informing him that it would be in the end times a king of Babylon which headed the one world government.